This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal or professional advice. There comes a point where so many women start looking in the mirror and start to notice things dramatically changing as they age, not just in how they look, but in how they feel. Their skin, their hair, their energy, their confidence. And no matter how hard we try as women, so many of us feel like we'll never fully measure up. For years, women have been told who to be, how to look, how to age, how to measure up. I'm Michelle Phillips, equal parts celebrity makeup artist and beauty expert, transformational coach, and motivational maven. After more than 30 years in the beauty industry, working behind the scenes with A-list celebrities, on camera, and with women from all walks of life, I've realized something. Real beauty isn't about chasing perfection. Beauty is confidence. Beauty is authenticity. It's time to create beauty on our own terms. This is The Beauty Shift, a place to get educated, not influenced. Do you ever feel like you've spent so much of your life taking care of everyone else that you've lost touch with what you want?
Because I had never loved myself, I never prioritized myself, I never valued myself.
Maybe you find yourself worrying more than you like, putting other people's needs ahead of your own, saying yes when you really want to say no.
Which had made me into a very people pleaser and fear-based person. So I feared everything.
Or feeling called to make a change in your life, but afraid of what others might think if you do. The truth is, as women, we often spend much of our lives trying to be who everyone else needs us to be.
You know how when you are like that and you just want to please people, I even wanted to always eat right so that my body shape could be right.
And then we forget who we are. And when that happens, we lose ourselves. And over time, it can affect every single part of our lives, especially our health and well-being.
I had completely become somebody who I am not because of my high vigilance of trying to please the people around me. My body had rebelled by getting cancer. I understood why I had got sick. And the biggest lesson I learned was that I had never loved myself, and that is the most important thing that I can do.
What if there's a way to quiet that constant worry and self-doubt? A way to trust yourself more and make decisions with confidence instead of fear.
Whenever we constantly feel we have to fix ourselves, we have to do more, be more, do better, constantly from the time we're really young, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. Immediately what this does is it sets you up to try and be somebody you're not.
That's exactly what today's conversation is about. My guest today is New York Times bestselling author Anita Moorjani, whose extraordinary near-death experience and miraculous recovery from cancer inspired millions around the world and changed the conversation around healing, fear, and the power of self-love. In fact, her story was so profound that Wayne Dyer introduced her to the world through his PBS special, and he became one of her biggest advocates. I have the privilege of knowing Anita for many years. We met as Hay House authors, and we shared stages together at the I Can Do It conferences around the country. We became friends, and it's a friendship that I cherish more deeply and deeply every year, especially as I'm aging. What I love most about Anita is her ability to really help us understand how fear affects our health and why self-love is so much more important than we realize. But before we dive into our conversation today, I know your time is valuable, so I just want to take a moment and thank you for taking a few moments out of your busy day to join us. And if you're enjoying The Beauty Shift, please make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And please share this conversation with a friend who could use a little extra inspiration and encouragement today. If you're new to The Beauty Shift, welcome. I think you'll be happy that you tuned in today because this episode is really powerful. So with that said, let's get started. Please help me. I'm going to cry. I'm so excited she's here. Please help me welcome my dear friend, Anita Moorjani. Anita, welcome to The Beauty Shift. This is such a gift to me to have you here. You know, I just adore you.
Oh, thank you. Likewise, I adore you too. I love everything you do. I really, really just loved your personality and who you are from the first time I met you at a Hay House event all those years ago.
I was thinking about that today. I think it was like, was it 2011?
It could have been 2011 or 12. If it was Los Angeles, if it was Pasadena, then it could have been 2011. That was the
Yes.
first time that I went on stage with Wayne Dyer.
Yeah, because we both had started off as Hay House authors at the same time. And I
Yep.
remember seeing you on Wayne's PBS special, Wayne Dyer's PBS
Mhm.
special, and he interviewed you on stage.
Yeah.
And your story was so incredibly powerful. And then you and I were both invited to speak on the I Can Do It tours at Hay House. And I think it was a couple years that we did that together, various cities. And I met you in Pasadena and also your wonderful husband, Danny, when we were at the author's party. At the time that I met you, I was so nervous about speaking because I had never spoken in front of 2,000 people.
Me
Like
too.
it was a lot of fear there and good fear. It was just
Yes.
nervousness because I'd been on television, but I hadn't been a speaker yet. And you were just starting out too. And I just remember when you shared your story about your near death experience, it really helped me alleviate some of the fear because your story is about how fear gripped you so much when you were younger that you
Yes.
feel that this led to you getting sick and getting cancer. So, for those who aren't familiar with your story, I would love for you to share what how you um, feel that fear, how that fed into you getting sick, and then how that led to a complete transformation for you.
Yes, so I had cancer. I was dealing with it for 4 years. It was lymphoma, and it progressed for a period of 4 years until I reached end stage when I was supposed to die. And at that point, at the end stage, I had these tumors the size of golf balls from the base of my skull all around my neck, under my arms, in my chest, all the way down to my abdomen. By then, I had these open skin lesions where toxins were weeping out of my skin. Um, my body was not absorbing nutrition, so I weighed about 80 to 85 pounds. And because I wasn't absorbing nutrition, my muscles had completely deteriorated. My muscles had atrophied completely, so I couldn't walk. I couldn't even hold my head up. My head would be hanging down. So I'd either be on a wheelchair or a chair or a bed. Um, but I couldn't even sit up straight. I didn't even have the strength to do that. And my lungs were always filled with fluid. So if I lay flat, I would choke on my own fluid. And I was in so much pain and discomfort. And I was connected to a portable oxygen tank because I couldn't breathe without the aid of the piped oxygen. And then in February, so I was being cared for at home. The doctors had told my family that I was dying. And then on February the 1st, or February the 2nd, 2006, I in the morning I didn't wake up, and my husband called my doctor right away, and the doctor said to rush me straight to the hospital. So I was rushed to the hospital, and the doctors looked at me and they said that this was it. I was dying, and my organs were now shut down, or were shutting down one by one, and some of my organs had already shut down. And they said I was in a coma, and that I was not going to come out of this coma, and that I probably only had about 24 hours before I would be gone. And so they just, had this piped oxygen, and then I was connected to the heart machine and all these different things. And they were piping food into me through a tube as well. And so there I was lying in the bed in a coma, and my family were all around me and they were really distraught. But unbeknownst to everyone around me, I had left my body. Um, so I was aware that I was no longer in my body, and I was aware of everything that was happening around me. But I didn't have a physical form anymore, but I was aware that my physical body was lying there on that hospital bed. And
Wow.
my awareness was different from when you look at things with your eyes, because not being in the body, you have no biology. So I had no eyes per se, but I had this 360 degree peripheral awareness where I could see or be aware of everything that was happening all around, but not just within the hospital room, because I wasn't constrained by a physical body. It was like I was limitless. I was ethereal. I was
Right.
a spirit being. And so I was able to be aware of what was happening beyond the room, beyond the walls. I could hear conversations that my husband Danny was having with the doctors outside down the hallway at the nurses' station. I could hear everything they were saying. And then I was aware that my brother, who was in another country, was rushing to get on a plane to get to me before I died. And so I was aware of all this. And my mom was distraught, and she was there in the hospital room. And the other thing was, I could feel what everybody was feeling.
Mhm.
I could feel the helplessness of the doctors. I could feel my mom's sadness. I could feel that she was wishing it was her instead of me. It was like she was talking to God saying, "Why are you taking my daughter? Take me instead." It's like I could sense it and feel it. Um,
And your
mhm.
body though is still like you were still alive though. Your body that was there, your physical body. But
Yes,
so you were still so you hadn't actually died, but it was as if a part of you had already left your body and your soul was progressing somewhere
yes.
else? Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. The doctors had basically said that even though her body is still being kept alive, there's nobody there.
Wow.
She's gone. And
Wow.
so my family were all prepared. They were already starting to grieve. And so while all this was going on, I remember feeling that I want them to know that I'm still here and I'm feeling much better, because the one thing that stood out for me was that all that pain and all that discomfort I had been dealing with for 4 years with the cancer, and as it progressed more and more towards the end, it was so painful, so fearful, so uncomfortable. It was all gone. And I actually felt, now no longer in my body, I felt expanded. I felt alive, ironically. I felt free. I felt better than I've ever remember feeling ever in my life before. And I wanted my family to know that. I wanted my mom to know that actually, don't grieve for me. Don't be sad. I actually feel great, better than I've ever felt before. But I couldn't communicate with her because I had no vocal cords. I had no voice. And so I really wanted them to know that. But yet I felt myself also being pulled away from the scene that was happening here in the physical world. And I was being pulled away to something else that was unfolding in a bigger way. Like,
Like
I'm
almost
going to
like a
say,
time travel or a travel to a different dimension or
it
how?
was like a different dimension was opening up for me. Like there's a different dimension that exists. But when we're locked in our physical, we're not aware of it. We can't see it. We can't feel it unless you're highly intuitive, which we actually are, but we've shut it off. But that's a whole other story. But yes, it's all here, but we don't tune into it. But what happens is that when you're out of your body, suddenly it's like all of that, it opens up. It's like, oh, wow, there is a whole other world beyond this one. And that world is incredible. And it's hard to describe because there are no words in the English language to describe something that you cannot see, hear, feel, touch, taste.
Right.
The English language is created to only describe what exists or to only explain this three-dimensional, five-sensory physical world. Anything beyond that, and we lack language for it.
And is this something we're connected to all the time or only when we pass away?
All the time. We just don't realize it, especially because we have no language to describe it. Babies are connected to it, animals are connected to it, but it gets conditioned out of us as we start to grow. We get told that it's woo-woo, it's you're crazy, it's your imagination when we feel it, sense it, when we intuit into it, when, like kids
Right.
get told that, oh no, it's your imaginary friends. It's probably not. It's probably their deceased relatives and other beings and their guides and so on that they can see.
Right.
But we get told that it's your imagination, and it's not real, and you've got to stop doing that. And you get laughed at, and you get teased, and you get made to feel like you're not smart or dumb, and it's not scientific, and all those things. And we've bought into this whole thing that when something cannot be proven by material science, that it's not real, which is sad because it's blocked out a whole reality that is very real, and it exists, and we're missing out by not tuning into it.
I remember vividly when I met you the first time, and I had heard your story on PBS because Wayne Dyer discovered you and your story and invited you to share
Yes.
openly in front of millions of people on
So
television.
scared.
And it was, but um, when you did leave your body and then you went into this amazing, beautiful, I want to say majestic realm, probably, you encountered, your father, and you
Yes.
had a message that you received. I would love for you to share that too, because this all helped you heal.
Yes, completely. So when this other realm opened up, when I entered this whole other realm, I was aware that I was surrounded by beings, beautiful beings, and all I felt from all of them was pure love. And I recognized some of them as being deceased loved ones from this lifetime, but I didn't recognize all of them. But they were all there just helping me through this process. And all I felt from them was pure, unconditional love. And one of the beings was my dad, who had died 10 years prior. And I had had a terrible relationship with my dad. I always felt I'd let him down, and that I had, I'd always received nothing but shame from him. So I always thought it was me. When I was there on the other side, and there was my dad. Now, we don't have bodies, but we recognize each other just energetically. You just know. It's almost like you get the image, emotionally, mentally, you get the image of who they were in your life when you encounter that being, that light being. And my dad wanted me to know that he had no judgment for me. Not only that, but he wanted me to know that I was perfect. There was never anything wrong with me. And it was him. It was because of the way he was conditioned
Right.
by our culture that made him constantly shame me. And so he wanted me to know that he loved me unconditionally. I never felt he loved me during our physical life, but he wanted me to know that he loved me unconditionally. He always had. He just never knew how to show it. And he just showed it in all the wrong ways. And because of my upbringing and because of my dad, I grew up to be afraid of everything, afraid of being myself, afraid of disappointing people, afraid. I was a people pleaser. I was a doormat. I was someone who was highly vigilant. If anybody was not happy, I would think, oh, it's my fault. And I would go out of my way to cheer them up and make them happy. I took everything on as my responsibility, even when it wasn't. I was one of those people. I could sense the emotions. Yes.
I can totally relate to this as you're
Yes.
sharing your story. Like most
Yes.
women, we are this, right? That's who
Yes.
we were when we were young.
It shocked me how many women have related to me when I speak about this. And you know how in our heads we think it's just me, it's just me. But no.
No,
And
and that's why I love sharing like your story, because I think so many of us still think these things on so many levels, yet we feel like we're the ones that are bad or wrong and shame ourselves because we don't realize that everybody else is possibly going through this too at some level.
yes, exactly. I grew up like that. And then here I am with my dad, spirit to spirit, soul to soul. And he wants me to know that there was nothing ever wrong with me, that I should have been receiving a different message instead of being told to be smaller and to be less and to be afraid of displeasing people and disappointing people. I should have been encouraged to use my voice and stand up for myself and speak up and shine brighter and all those things. So yeah, while I was in that realm, um, I understood. It was like a realm of clarity. I understood why I had got sick, and the biggest lesson I learned. I mean, there is so much that I learned on the other side, but I'll touch on just the biggest lesson I learned. And the biggest lesson I learned was that I had never loved myself. And that is the most important thing that I can do. And because I had never loved myself, I never prioritized myself. I never valued myself because I grew up in a culture where a woman's worth was measured by how valuable she was to the men in her life.
Mhm.
And if my dad didn't see me as valuable, then I wasn't valuable. And you were only worthy if you were married, or you were seen as either someone's daughter or someone's wife if you are a woman. um, and so I realized that because of all that conditioning, I had never loved myself, which had made me into a very people pleaser and fear based person. So I feared everything. Um, and then I even feared cancer. I even feared, how when you are like that and you just want to please people, I even wanted to always eat right so that my body shape could be right. I was under a lot of pressure to get married. You have to get married by a certain age. You get groomed. You have to be good at housework so you get a good husband. You can't, in my culture at that time, going back to that generation, I wasn't even allowed to be overly educated or too smart or to have a career because that would make you unattractive as a wife. You have to be a homemaker. And the better you are as a homemaker, the better your chances of getting a husband. And we were judged for our housekeeping skills, for our body shape, for our appearance, all of that. And that's the environment I grew up in. And I understood that because I had completely become somebody who I am not because of my high vigilance of trying to please the people around me, my body had rebelled by getting cancer.
Right. I remember both you and Wayne Dyer would talk about dis-ease, which is the dis-ease in our bodies turns into disease. And it's a lot more about our emotions and our mindset than it is how we, it's a combination, but if we leave out the emotions and the mindset piece of it,
Yes.
we can make ourselves really sick. You discover like, or you have got this amazing clarity, like, oh my gosh, this is why my body's sick.
Yes.
Yet you're also in this realm of absolute pure love and
Yes.
surrounded by people who you have lost in the past, family, and then you feel better than you've ever felt in years because you're free of the pain.
Yep.
Why did you choose to come back, or did it just happen that you came back? Because it's a part of me, I remember when you told me this story before, I thought, well, why would anyone want to come back from that, right? But do you have a choice?
So I did not want to come back. It was so amazing. Um, and it felt like my dad was um, actually coaxing me to go back. I reached a point where I was getting the message. Now, remember, we don't have vocal cords or anything. So as I was getting these messages, I was kind of feeling they were coming from my dad, but it's not like he's speaking them to me. It could have even been my dad and the other beings around me were lovingly taking care, like guiding me and making sure that I felt safe and the clarity and feeling loved. And so I was getting the message that I have to make a choice. This is as far as I can go. If I go further, I wouldn't be able to turn back. And so they were encouraging me to come back. And no part of me, I didn't feel like I was being forced, but no part of me wanted to come back. But that's when I started to understand a few things. One is I understood that now that I knew why it was I got sick, if I go back and as long as I realized and practiced it, that self love and lived my life more fearlessly, when you don't love yourself, that space, that love gets filled, that it leaves an empty space, which gets filled with fear. So I had been living a fear-based life because we literally either we make our choices from love or we make it from fear. So the one big lesson I learned is I didn't love myself. And because I didn't love myself, every choice I made in life, I made from fear, fear of displeasing people, fear of failing, fear of not
Right.
being vigilant enough, and so on. So the message I was getting is I'm getting an opportunity to now go back and live my life fearlessly. And that meant loving myself, really loving myself and allowing myself to be myself fearlessly. And I was getting that opportunity. And the other message I got was that my husband's purpose and my purpose was linked. And if I didn't go back, he wouldn't be able to complete his purpose either. It felt like I hadn't completed my purpose yet. But then I was still resistant. I said, but my body is sick and dying. Why would I want to go back to a sick and dying body? And my family was suffering. I had been suffering. And that's when I understood that now that I know, now that I understand what it is, and I'm being given the opportunity to actually love myself, that my body would heal very, very quickly. And it was like I started to feel, okay, I want to put this into practice to see if it works.
Right. And so
Yeah.
you, back in the hospital, you eventually came
Yes.
back into your body, and how did,
In yeah, in
yeah.
fact, even just before that, I started to see that I still had things to do. And I actually saw myself, an image of myself on stage speaking to thousands of people. And I'm glad I even wrote that in my book Dying to Be Me, because when I wrote that, it was before it actually happened. I wrote it before my book
Right.
gets
Before your
sold.
book came out and before you were touring, yeah, with Hay House
Yeah.
and yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
even before I wrote my book, I wrote it on a website, which is where Wayne Dyer discovered my story. So on that, so in the NDE state, I saw myself speaking to thousands of people, but I didn't know what I was speaking to people about, and understood that was part of my purpose.
Mhm.
But I was like, what am I speaking to people about? And it was nothing like the life I used to lead. I was somebody who was a people pleaser, subservient, doormat. Um, I could never imagine the life that I'm living today. And so, and then I kept getting the message. This is in the NDE. I kept getting the message. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to figure it out. That's when I made the decision to come back. And the final thing I heard was from my dad. Now that you know the truth of who you really are, go back and live your life fearlessly. And that's when my physical body started to open my eyes. Mhm.
Wow. And then within 5 weeks, was it that you were
I was
healed?
released from the hospital cancer-free. All the tumors, everything just shrunk and recessed, and they were taking scans and they were doing biopsies, and they couldn't believe it. They didn't even know what to write in my medical records. The doctors, they were stumped.
You've had many, many doctors review your case. Everyone has come down to, when it comes down to it, have said that you shouldn't be alive. Is right?
Every single one. And I even had one of my doctors who was there with me, our own physician, who was there with me. I did a YouTube video with him about a year ago, and it's there on YouTube for anyone, because I still get skeptics come up from time to time. But I've had a doctor write a big testimonial, which is in my book, Dying to Be Me. I've had Dr. Jeffrey Long, who is an oncologist that owns the NDERF site, who saw my medical records, who also verified it. I've had Dr. Bruce Grayson and so many, and Dr. Brian Walker, who was my doctor, do a YouTube video with me. And I'm just putting this out there in case anybody needs it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's why I asked the questions, because there's always people who are, skeptics. And I don't, I mean, from the time I heard your story, I completely related to everything from the beginning of how you grew up. I mean, I was raised similar. I didn't have the arranged marriage issues and things like that. But I feel like, we were talking earlier about how, our mothers, their
Mhm.
generations, they were raised at 18, you grew up and you get married. My mom didn't
Yep.
have an arranged marriage, but it was pretty much almost the same. I mean, it was like, quick, get out of the house. The sooner you get out of the house, the better. And so, you marry the first guy that comes along and proposes. And then, with me growing up with my mom really never had a career. She was a people pleaser. She was, subservient, I think. She didn't even know how to write a check. Just,
Yeah, mine too.
yeah. So you think about us as girls now, and I'm a 60-year-old girl here soon, but I really feel like when we're young, our generation of women, I just remember being afraid all the time and
Mhm.
always worried about what people thought of me, always was afraid that I'd be rejected. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And then I grew up and had a good career, very successful career, because I could kick butt in my career and do really well. But yet in my personal life, still struggled with all the same, not good enough, people pleasing. I would show up as people wanted me to be. I was afraid to say no. My whole life was just that way. I think it took until I was almost, 40 years old to say, wait a second, this isn't working. And it's been an ongoing journey on changing that and turning that around. Um,
Yep. Same.
and yeah, it's not a one and done, right? When you
No.
say, I'm going to start loving myself. And so when you're teaching women, how, and not women, I mean, you're teaching everyone, but I say women because of this, I feel is more prevalent in women than it is
Yes.
in men. And especially in the women that I work with. Um, how do you really get the message through of self love and loving yourself? Because this is something that I think we talk about a lot, but yet, do people really understand what that means?
They don't. They don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think loving yourself is narcissistic and egotistical. It isn't. Actually, the more you love yourself, the less egotistical you are, the less narcissistic you are. People who are egotistical, narcissistic, they don't love themselves. That is a form of like compensation, if you will. And it's a very shallow love. It's not love, it's something else. The
Right.
problem with the word love is that we use it for too many things that don't actually have the same meaning. Um, And so when I talk about love, I'm talking about really loving who you are at your core. It means loving your soul, your spirit. And when you truly love yourself, what it means is you realize that this person is a spirit, it's a being, a spiritual being that came into this life perfect, purely perfect as spirit, and will one day go back into spirit. So you are a spiritual being. And whenever we constantly feel we have to fix ourselves, we have to do more, be more, do better, constantly from the time we're really young, you're not good enough, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Immediately, what this does is it sets you up to try and be somebody you're not. And this is the part that's really hard. Our entire environment is geared towards making us feel like we have to constantly be better than we are. And our environment is not geared towards us finding out who we actually are.
Right.
Our souls, our spirit came here for a purpose. It came here with an intention. It came here most likely to make the world a better place. It came here to evolve. It came here to be like the best parent it can be, or the best, or to help influence other people, or to help influence the world. But for some reason, we forget this and it gets conditioned out of us. And we come in, and as soon as we're old enough to understand, we start to chip away at who we actually are as spiritual beings. And we start to think, okay, I need to change this. I need to change this. I need to do more of this. I need to, and then slowly it starts to become, I need to lose weight to be accepted. I need to, I need to look prettier. I need to cook better. I need to be more domesticated. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not this. Instead of loving who we came here to be, who we are. So what I teach people is that we have to stop this doing culture, this self-help culture. Self-help means you're not good enough as you are. You need to do more, be more. Stop doing that and start undoing. Start saying no to things. Start emptying your life, and then start to really get to your core, to your soul, and figure out, who did my soul intend to be when it came here? What did my soul intend to accomplish, achieve? And if I allowed myself to be myself fearlessly, to really be myself fearlessly, in full honesty, who would that be? What would I wear? What would I look like? Would I bother to put on my makeup every single day? Would
Right.
I dress differently? Would I speak differently? Would I be doing something different if I allowed myself to just be really, to be myself really fearlessly? And even if you don't do those things right away as you go on that self-discovery journey, um, the first step is to recognize who you actually would be if you were yourself fearlessly. So that's kind of what I do in my workshops. First, discover who you really are, and then look at who you have become as a result of your environment. I call it your marinade, as a result of what you've been marinated in, who I've become, who I really am, and how different is it? And can I create a trajectory to step by step get closer to who I really am?
Exactly. When I ask women that I'm working with, so who are you? They tell me their roles. I'm a
Yes.
mom. This is my profession. This is what I do. I'm like, no, not what you do. Who are you? And most of the time, they're stumped.
Yeah.
And it's really, for me, just like you said, when I was going through that transformation myself and thinking about, who am I and what do I want? That meant, kind of like you said, stripping away everything. You have to like allow yourself some quiet time and some time away from the social media, the people in your life who tell you that you should, could, and whatever, are always preaching that, oh, well, you should do this. Everyone has good intentions. I think people in our lives, they're just doing this to try to protect us or guide us. But all of those things influence us. And I talk about influencers.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're way too influenced. And now in our
Yep.
social media culture, have so much influence, to where when we strip that away and we really, journal or take some steps to just think, like you said, like, what would I do if, I always say, if you could wave a magic wand and your life
Yeah.
could be anything, and women will come out to me and tell me all of their wishes and desires. But before I wave that magic wand, if I ask them, who are you and what do you want? They don't necessarily know. They tell me based on what they think is available to them. Whereas
Yeah.
it's limitless what's there for us. We just have to allow ourselves to step into it and become that.
Social media is really good at making us feel like losers.
Yeah. Exactly. It's true. I call it the comparison trap. We're not only raised to be the good girl, be
Yep.
nice, don't make waves, speak when spoken to,
All of it.
make sure you don't get fat. I mean, the list, right, is endless.
Yes.
And we have the media and we have social media, and we're really bombarded by all of this. Do you feel that now, I mean, even more than when you and I met 15 years ago, that there is like a wake up call going on where people have had enough of it?
I do. I do think so. Definitely. It's changing. It's changed a lot. I feel that people are fed up of so many. I'm feeling weirdly that there are more people open to all the messages I have than there were when I started. And
Yeah.
that's the interesting thing because Wayne launched me in this big fanfare and everything. And then he passed away 3 years, 4 years later, because I toured with him for 4 years, and then he passed away. And then I felt that my message would slowly die down and people would forget about me, and it would just go through a natural uh, phase of just dying down. But that hasn't really happened. It's just kind of kept going. And recently, in the last year or two, maybe possibly a little bit during COVID, but in the last year or two, I felt that there are more and more people who are interested in my messages. And it's like, oh, there's like a whole new wave of people, younger people that are really, really interested and wanting to know more on all of it, like how to live life here, how to live more authentically and love yourself, but also the afterlife part.
Right.
More and more people are interested in actually understanding what happens in the afterlife. And I don't get challenged as much by skeptics. It's actually become easier now to share my message than it was 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago.
We're all wanting more, and the searching for happiness outside of ourselves isn't working.
It isn't. Yeah. And one of the first times I shared my message before I went on stage with Wayne Dyer, and so this was before that, I was asked to share my story in a room. This is like maybe 2010, 11, somewhere there. So I'm going back like 15, 16 years. It was a room of about 50 or 60 people. And I shared my story. And I said the most important lesson I learned on the other side was that to love yourself. I had never loved myself. I now tell people, love yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. I learned by nearly dying. And there was one woman in the room who got so triggered by me saying that. And she actually stood up, and this was not in the United States. The woman was, I think, European or Eastern European. Um, and she actually stood up and she said, "That's egotistical." And I said, no, it's not. And I tried to explain it to her. She wouldn't hear it. She said, you're teaching everyone to love themselves. That's what's wrong with the world. She literally stormed out of the room and would not hear the rest of
Wow.
what I was doing. It offended her so much that I was teaching people to love themselves. And yet, over the years, in these last 15 years, I am starting to see so many people are saying, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. I'm seeing it
Yes.
over and over in Hay House and everywhere. I'm like, huh, isn't that interesting? When I was saying it 16 years ago, um, I was one of the first to say, I literally died to learn that I have to love myself.
It just gives me a lot of hope that things have progressed so much and
Yes.
that your message is being even more well received than it was back then, because that was, this perfect segue to where I was going to go next. Is that, I'm working with a lot of women who are going through perimenopause and menopause, and I feel like this stage of life is even just as difficult, and if not worse, than what we went through in, when we were in puberty. Your
Yeah.
body's changing, your hormones are changing, therefore, your sleep, your mindset, everything is out of sorts. And then our faces are aging, our bodies are aging, and it can be very scary. It can be a lot of fear can come up again, which is fear that maybe we didn't have on the middle part of our life when we're going, we're 20s and 30s and even
Yes.
early 40s, and we're fine. We're just doing our careers and doing our thing, and then boom, um, it's a very confusing time. And
It is.
I know for myself, and what I'm teaching women is to really look at the internal.
Mm-hmm.
How are we taking care of ourselves? Of course, the nutrition and the exercise and the supplements and those types of things, but more importantly, how we feel about ourselves and our mindset, because what we think creates our emotions, and our emotions create our actions. And it's this snowball effect, which of course my mentor was Louise Hay. And
Yes.
back then, when she was teaching everyone self-love, the same, people loved her message, but there was a group, a very select group. And now it's that message is more well received.
Yes.
But
Much more.
there's a couple things that have come up with me personally, as well as a lot of these women I'm working with, because I'm teaching online classes. And is that there's number one is our mortality, the fear
Yes.
that we're getting older, the
Yes.
fear of getting sick, the fear that we might get cancer, because a lot of people around us now are getting sick or our loved ones are dying. I'll just start with that first one, and then we can get to the second one I was going to mention in a minute. But how do you guide people to not succumb to that? Because for you, I know that fear of getting sick was one of the reasons that you felt that you got sick.
Yes, exactly. So when I said that I never loved myself, it was also every choice I made came from a place of fear, which means even if I would eat healthy foods, I wasn't eating it because I love myself. I was eating healthy food because I feared getting sick. So I would take all the anti-cancer supplements and so on because I feared getting cancer. I was eating super healthy when I was diagnosed. I was having all the antioxidant, anti-cancer pills and everything. I was doing too much to prevent cancer. And this is one of the things I would tell people: stop focusing on the cancer. Stop focusing on what it is that you don't want. When the fear comes on, whether you're actually dealing with an illness right now or whether you're just fearing that it will come on at some point, don't suppress the fear, don't push it away, don't fear the fear, because there are people that say, oh my gosh, the fear might make me sicker, or it'll deplete me and give me cancer, so they start to fear the fear. Don't fear the fear. This is what self-love really means. It means embracing all your emotions, including the fear. When you embrace it and you allow it, it starts to dissipate. You find a moment when it's just dissipating where you just feel peace. And now you actually consciously start focusing on the life that you want to live. And I always tell people, you need to have something to look forward to. Build a life that you look forward to living. Most people, unfortunately, still till today, are reacting to what is going on in their life. They're reacting to their bodies. They're reacting to what's happening around them. And then they're they're band-aiding all the things that are happening to them, like minor illnesses and all, and they're just doing a band-aid process. What I would say, actively and consciously start planning the life that you want to live and create a trajectory towards that life and think of every detail. I actually consciously do think that I want to grow old feeling really healthy. I want to keep doing what I do. And so every day I hold that image in my mind, and it is something that keeps me feeling joyful and hopeful for my future. And it keeps me going every day. People who have something to look forward to are healthier than those who don't like their lives and who are just reacting to their lives. So,
Mm.
really, when you find yourself feeling fear and just reacting, take it as a reminder that your mind and your body and your soul is just telling you that you don't have anything to look forward to. You haven't built a life consciously. So start doing that. So in other words, your mind is then focusing on a different picture. Because
Right.
when you focus on the illness and you start going down the fear spiral, so first embrace it. I am feeling fear. Yes, I am. What can I do about it? That's when it's like, oh, I can focus on the future I want to create instead. And what does a healthy future look like? It's not just about taking the right supplements and the right food. It's about, what are you going to do all day? Who are you going to see? Who are you going to be? How are you going to dress? Do you want to start going to Pilates? Do you
Mhm.
want to start going to certain classes or community groups or join something? It's about all of those things, every aspect, taking care of your physical body, your mind, your spirit. Um, do you have family? It's about finding areas where you can feel love again, where you can feel alive again. And again, as I said, most people, as they get older, they're just reacting to their body's aches and pains instead of, and I'm not saying don't react to it. I'm not saying don't go to the doctor, but really you have to actively think in terms of, what can I do that I love? Do I have love in my life? Did you know that one of the biggest reasons for illness in older people and death in older people is loneliness? You need community. You need to build a life that you love, consciously build a life that you love.
I feel as if a lot of things I write about is that we're programmed to look at what's wrong with our lives
Yes, and react
naturally.
to it.
We'll just find all kinds of things to complain about. And I even had this conversation yesterday with a client. I was like, what's right with your life? What's right about you? Every single day, when you focus on what's right about you and what's good in your life, because we all have good in our lives, it really starts to help that practice of taking the focus off of the negative and on
Yes.
to the positive. And the more we focus on the positive, the more we will attract more of that to us. Go to the doctor, get your scans, feed your body nutritionally, exercise, do all the things, your spiritual practice, but do it out of self-love and taking care of yourself, not as fear that something is wrong with
Yes. And chances are you will need to go to the doctor less and less and less as you do that. I give people so many exercises to do. Like, for example, one thing that I ask people to do is, I say that, imagine, and this is if they're going through an illness or even if you have a fear of an illness, imagine that right now you were given this clean bill of health, or you were told You're never going to get sick. And with this information, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? So start by going to celebrate. Now, what do you want to spend the rest of your life doing? What surprises me is that most people don't even know. They're just dealing with their illness or dealing with trying to stay healthy. They don't even know what they want to do with their life. And so that's when I say, that's what I want you to figure out. I don't want you to keep figuring out how to be healthy. I want you to figure out what you would do with the rest of your life if you were 100% healthy. Because if you have something that you're excited about, if your life has meaning and purpose, your body has more incentive to keep up and get well.
Yes. And I know studies have shown, well, Bruce Lipton, you work with Bruce.
Yes.
I know Joe Dispenza, we've both worked with him in the past. They both have done studies. Like I know Joe's worked with Mayo Clinic that shows that it actually changes the molecular structure of your body and your cells, right? From
It
just that
does. It,
focusing on being healthy and changing that trajectory in your mind of what you're teaching. It's
exactly.
profound. Yeah.
And
It's
even when people are dealing with an illness, and let's say they're still physically active, but they've just been diagnosed with something, I tell them that even if you're just diagnosed, even if you're whatever treatments you're going to do or whatever, I'm not a doctor, so I won't interfere with that. But what I will tell you, or what I will tell them, is that I want you to take this as a wake up call, and it is a message because your body is not an enemy. It's not something that what you've been diagnosed is not your body failing you. It's your body telling you that you are not honoring what it came here to be and do. Your body is always on your side. So don't treat it like an enemy. Don't treat the illness like a battle that you have to fight. Don't fight your body. It is a call to love your body more and to even hug your body, nurture it, and say, I love you so much. Tell me what it is you're trying to say and what is it I need to do. And the other thing, another mistake that people make is they then work backwards. What did I do to get this? They try and figure it out. Don't do that. Don't do that. That gets you spiraling. No, work forward. What is it that I want my life to look like that I haven't been doing? Look forward. What do I want to bring into my life that I haven't before that I would love to have?
wow. And you're living proof you did it. And you're healthy, and it's been 20 years or so?
It's been 20 years and I still do it. It's not something that's one and done. And I will tell you that this physical world we live in, the fear is persistent. It
Mm.
is persistent. The fear that you are not enough, you're not doing enough, you're not being enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not whatever, you don't have enough followers to get the book deal. It's like constant,
Right.
constant, no matter who you are, what you do. So for me, it's always a reminder. I got this far. My body got me this far. It's further than I could ever have imagined. I was lying on a hospital bed dying, and today I'm here. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. I'm traveling the world. I'm doing great.
Yeah, you're living the life that, that you didn't even know that you'd dreamed of, that was your purpose. And that's what,
Exactly.
the part two of the question that I was wanted to ask. As women, again, in a different stage of life, you and I are both close in age, we start beating ourselves up all over again. Maybe
Yes.
because we have more time. I don't know. But it also is because we're looking in the mirror and we have, not only wrinkles, our hair's thinning, our bodies, no matter how much we exercise, they're not going to look the same. You just start tearing yourself down.
Yep.
And then you start thinking about, you've taken care of everybody else for so long. And it's like, oh, to take care of yourself, what does that look like?
Exactly. And so the idea is to really love yourself through all that, because all of that is part of life. Like a very common response I get when I say to people, do you love yourself? And they'll say, no, because I'm overweight. I need to lose 20 pounds, and that's why I don't love myself. Or no, because I'm getting older, or I've got wrinkles. The whole point of self-love is that it's unconditional.
Right.
Even if the outside world is going to judge me for whatever reason, for being overweight, for being older. I mean, I do notice there is age. What's the word for it? Like ageism. It does exist. I'm
Oh,
noticing as
yes.
I get older, you get discriminated because you're older. So I have noticed that. But the thing is that every time any of these things happen, it's a call for me to love myself more. This is an example for me to love myself through this, because who I am is a soul that has lived many lives, and I have brought my experience to this now.
Right.
I am going to see myself through this phase of my life. I'm going to see myself through menopause, through getting older. And I have to love myself through it. Even if I have to love myself more than ever before, I am not going to let myself down. I want to share with you just a little thing that happened when I had just come out of my NDE, and I was still lying in the hospital, and I was still weak, but I knew I was going to be well, and I understood why I had got sick. And I was on one hand, I was feeling really euphoric, but I was still very weak. It was still like 4 or 5 days after the near-death experience, and I had not gotten out of bed yet. And then a nurse said, we need to get you out of the bed so that you can start walking and using your legs and to build up your strength and build up your muscles again. So she helped me out of the bed, and I started to walk with, holding her in one arm and holding the IV stand with the other hand. And then I said, I haven't seen myself in a mirror for the longest time. Can you walk me to a mirror? So she walks me to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and there I saw myself,
Hmm.
and I was shocked as to how awful I looked to me. Because I'm in the hospital gown, and I had
Right.
these
And you're still like
bandages.
80 pounds, right?
I was
85.
still 80 pounds. I'd lost all my hair.
Mm.
I was not standing up straight. I was still very weak. I was just skin and bones. And you just imagine someone like that with no hair, skin and bones. I had these bandages covering the open skin lesions, and my face was so skinny that it looked like my eyes were bulging out. And so I looked at myself in the mirror. I even looked in my own eyes, and I actually started crying. And I cried not because I'd lost my looks, but more because I understood that I had done this to myself because I had never loved myself.
Mm.
And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I said, I will never let you down again. I will always love you, even if other people don't. I will never forsake you, even if other people do. Even if other people step on you, stab you behind your back, I won't do that. I won't do that to you. And that
Mm.
is the commitment that we are asked to keep, is that you have to really love yourself. I just want to mention one other thing here, because I don't want people to feel, because of what I've said, that I understood why I got cancer. I don't want people to feel that it's their fault they got sick. It's never your fault you got sick. Never, ever. I'm not blaming the victim. But what I am saying is that you can take charge of what you do moving forward. You're not a victim of your life. You
Right.
can actually change the trajectory of your life. And if I can come back from the state that I was in, I believe just about anybody can.
I love that. I believe that too. And I love your message of basically, to me, what I'm thinking is don't abandon myself,
Yes,
because and we a lot of times look outside to others to love us, to feel valued.
yes, And
but if we don't love ourselves, then it, it it's harder to receive that love. And I feel as if we're also, everything around us is a mirror.
yes, it is.
So the more we love ourselves, the more we're going to have more love show up in our lives externally, which is a byproduct. So if people are externally looking for that love, it starts here. That's how I told you that when I saw you last year, because remember, I was going through a very bad divorce when you and I first met. And I said, oh my gosh, I met the best guy. I'm married to him. I can't wait because he's here. I want you to meet him. But it
Oh,
was
he's
because,
wonderful. I
oh,
loved
thank
him. Yeah.
you. Just like
Yeah.
your Danny, it's just
Yes.
because when you love yourself and you really pour that love into yourself, and um, I went through a health challenge a couple years ago, and I lost hair, like clumps of hair in the back of my head, and I was balding on the top of my head. And I'd also go up and down with weight, all that stuff, but I
Yes.
felt that the best remedy for anything is self-love, because you will start to take better care of yourself. You will
Yes.
attract more better quality people, experiences in your life, because the more you love yourself, the more it actually changes everything in your life. I love what you said, because your message of that, I will stand by you
Yes.
no matter what. And I won't abandon you,
Yeah.
Michelle, or I won't abandon you, Anita, because how often as women do we abandon ourselves when we say yes to things we don't want to say yes to, when we beat ourselves up, when we take on a job or something that we don't like? I mean, we often do it.
All the time, all the time. And it is that, talk to yourself like you would your own 5-year-old child.
Yes.
Yeah, always. Like every time we talk to ourselves, we need to talk to ourselves like we are our own 5-year-old child. Speak kindly, lovingly, and yes, don't
Yes.
abandon yourself.
That
And
is so true. I wake up every day and say, what does Michelle need today?
I love that.
And then I do that, exactly what you said. Would I talk to my daughter or my son the way I'm talking to myself right now? And then it's like,
Probably not.
oh, nope, stop that. Like you said, don't beat
Yeah.
yourself up for it. Just become aware of it and just start shifting it. How would the thought in your head right now change
Yeah.
if that thought was towards your son or your daughter? I love that. It's so true. We just
It
need
is.
to be kinder and softer and gentler and live
Yeah.
fearlessly.
Yes, and the more that you need other people's approval, the more you start to change yourself
Yeah.
and become someone else just to get their approval. So stop doing that.
Stop doing that.
I would like to share one last thing, and it's to be unafraid to say no more. And what I found is most people who are unhealthy or fearful or having a rough time with how things are people who are afraid of saying no, who feel obligated to do things, be there. So be unafraid to say no more. And that even means no to watching the news or social media and so on. And it doesn't mean you're not interested in what's happening. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're not helping people. But when you're able to choose where you want to put your energy, a better version of you shows up to do things that matter to you. And that's really what's important. It's not about being there for everyone. And so really, really watch what you're saying yes to and say no more. And just one final thing, when you say no more, you are starting to undo, you're starting to put down the things, the burdens you've always taken on. I always like to leave people with this analogy. It's if you remember the sculptor Michelangelo, who used to make these beautiful statues of angels, and he would carve them out of rocks or marble, and they were just plain rocks, and then he would carve these beautiful statues of angels. And when somebody once asked him, how do you create such a beautiful, perfect, detailed statue from this with no plans or anything. And he says, I just chip away until I set the angel free. I just chip away at what was not part of the angel and just chip away until the angel is free. We are sometimes these blocks of marble. Just chip away at what is not you, and what you will set free is something so beautiful. You just don't see it because you've taken on stuff that's not you.
Mm. I'm going to get tissue. I'm going to cry. That was so beautiful. It's so true. It is so true. I love that. Thank you. And thank you for your time today. And I have always, and I've told you this many times, I feel you are an angel. You're an angel to me, and you're an angel to so many. Thank you for sharing your light and your story. And thank you for your time today. I encourage everyone to go to your website, anitamoorjani.com. And when you attend Anita's workshops, or I know you speak all over the world, it is absolutely life-changing. My husband and I've seen you speak many times, but I took my husband to see you last year here in Florida, and he was forever changed too, just like me. And I get that every time I see you. I'm like, you're just your story and your light. And I even took pictures of you, and there was an aura. Remember that? There was these rings of light around you. But honestly, I know you have workshops in Sedona that you do where people can come work with you more one-on-one, right? In smaller groups.
Yes, I'm doing a workshop in Sedona just coming up in August, and that is called From Healing to Whole. And with this one, we're really focusing on speaking to the cells in our body and bringing out healing for people. So and then I'll be speaking in London later this year in Ireland, but in September I'm speaking in New York with Bruce Lipton, where we're actually going to be speaking about how our environment shapes our biology.
Nice. And all of that is on your website, right?
All of it's on my website under events.
Okay. And then you have a membership.
I have a membership platform called The Sanctuary, Anita Moorjani Sanctuary, where I come on live every month and we do a journey. And the one that's coming up next is going to be about speaking to the cells in our body. But every month we do the journey, but then it stays there on the website. So even if people don't tune in live, it's always there for them to keep going back to.
Oh, wonderful. And I know you're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for sure. So we'll put all the links in the show notes as well so everyone can reach you, because I know so many are going to want to continue hearing and your work and hopefully seeing you in person too. So thank you for your time, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you. You are such a beautiful angel, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you. I love you dearly.
Oh, I love you too so much.
Love you. Wasn't that an amazing conversation? Incredible, right? She's an angel. To me, she's an angel. And just to kind of wrap up this inspiring hour, a little bit over an hour, I just want to talk about, again, how so many women spend their lives trying to be who everyone else needs them to be. I know I was that person for so long. And, when we're in that mode, we put, ourselves last. We ignore our intuition. We silence our own needs, and we allow fear to make decisions that should be made from love. But as Anita reminded us today, your power has never been outside of you. The peace you're searching for, the confidence you want, the courage to set boundaries, the strength to make changes, the ability to trust yourself, it's already within you. Maybe the next step isn't becoming someone different. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to become more fully who you are. If today's conversation resonated, I'd love for you to share this episode with another person who might need to hear it today. And if you'd like more support on your journey of beauty, health, wellness, visit my website, michellephillips.com. There I have free beauty and resources, downloadable guides, expert advice to help you in the areas that you need to look better, to feel better, and to thrive in your life. And again, if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe. I have so many listeners, yet not even half of you have subscribed yet. So it will help us reach more women who need these conversations if you subscribe, especially if you leave a review. So I appreciate your support if you do, and I appreciate your support no matter what, because this is important. This is the beauty shift. This is when you shift, hopefully, the way you see yourself, and then you'll change the way you show up in the world. Here's to aging with confidence, living with purpose, and looking damn good doing it. Are you with me? All right. Well, you go out there and you have yourself a great week, and I'll see you next time on The Beauty Shift. Thank you again for joining me today.